Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to our Legal Matters Kanuni Mashre. I'm your host IMRAN RIZVI, and as usual we'll be discussing legal issues, legal matters, anything relating to anything with the law. अगर आपके पास कोई issue regarding housing issue, last week we talked about regarding landlords and tenants issues, we'd be more than happy to take your calls and give you advice on that one. अगर आपके पास कोई any other relation to do with legal, then you can call us, or if you got some matter you want to discuss, यहाँ पे आप discuss करना चाहते हैं something private, then आप control room से telephone number ले सकते हैं and our email address, and we'll be more than happy to assist you on that one. और as usual हमारे साथ जो हमारी team होगी with Shai Mansoor, his immigration consultant, he'll be joining with me to discuss the issues, any matters related to immigration, and we'll be more than happy to take your calls. ये एक interactive program होता है जहाँ पे आपसे हमारा एक continuation रहती है discussion on immigration, आपको news and views लाते हैं about the rules changing जो अब होने वाले हैं and within the recent changes जो आ चुकी हैं in immigration. So again, I would like to welcome my colleague Shai Mansoor.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome. And Shai Sab, again, just because of time, and we have to really consider this very important, because last time भी हमारे साथ time का एक problem हो चुका था, कॉलें आ रही थी, but rather than we speak on some of the other matters, मैं आपसे ये discuss करना चाहता हूँ that obviously हमने last week start करा था ये landlords and tenants issues, we talked about deportation, we talked about domestic violence. In जो immigration के matters होंगे, we will discuss them later on in the program. मगर आपसे start करेंगे with landlord and tenants. मगर आप before I start, मैं अपने views को बताता चलूँ that इंशाल्लाह अगर आपके पास कोई issue है regarding any concern with any matter, then please contact us. हमारी email address screen पे आ रही होगी, हमारी lines खुल गई होंगी, and you'll be able to talk to us and bring the questions to us. So we'll be more than happy to help and advise you. Shai Sab, we were talking about landlords and tenants issues. One of the big problems, big issues जो चल रहा है, is about the bond scheme and the rent. जो होता है, people pay the rent and they pay a deposit. Now, बहुत सारी situations ऐसी भी आ चुकी हैं, and you know, and as well as I'm aware of, that sometimes जो deposit होता है, the landlords try to keep that for themselves and they don't bank it, which is supposed to be done in a bond scheme.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा बताएं, where sometimes the tenant has a grievance, जहाँ पे काम नहीं होता. We did talk about this, and they try to offset it. Now, we've got to be clear where they're breaking the law.
I mean, first of all, I'd like to explain what the legal position is. From April 2007 onwards, there's been a bond scheme in place whereby the landlords are supposed to actually deposit whatever deposit they are holding with one of the approved deposit schemes, and there are 3 in England and Wales. So if you were to take the deposit and not actually register it with one of these schemes, then you are in breach of the law, and so, then it can get you into a lot of difficulty.
So basically, the position is very clear. The deposit has to be put as a bond, and it has to be then put in a separate account.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the account belongs to the deposit scheme. It's not something that you can say, oh, I've created a separate account and I've transferred it in there. It has to be physically transferred over to the approved deposit schemes, which are run by.
जैसे कॉल आ रही है, इसे शामिल करते हैं, फिर आते हैं आपके पास. Hello.
Hello.
जी, hello. Welcome to the program. कौन कहाँ से?
सर मैं मुश्ताक बात कर रहा हूँ मैनचेस्टर में.
जी, मुश्ताक साहब. आप अपना क्वेश्चन बताएं.
मेरा सवाल ये है कि बेसिकली मैंने यहाँ पे शादी की थी
जी,
और मैं स्टूडेंट वीजे में यहाँ पे मौजूद था. तो मैंने अपनी एक्सटेंशन स्पाउस वीजे के लिए अप्लाई किया था. तो मेरा बेबी भी यहाँ पे हो चुका है, तो मेरा वीजा जो है वो बेसिकली रिफ्यूज हो गया था सिर्फ इस बेस पे कि मेरी वाइफ यहाँ पे काम नहीं कर रही थी.
ठीक है.
ड्यूरिंग डिलीवरी की वजह से. तो मैंने अपील नहीं भेजी थी, तो अब मेरी वाइफ यहाँ पे काम करना शुरू करती है, तो मेरी अपील का टाइम खत्म हो गया. तो मैंने मुझसे सिर्फ ये पूछना था कि अगर मेरी वाइफ पार्ट टाइम काम करे तो ये ओके है, क्योंकि वो फुल टाइम काम नहीं कर सकती है.
अच्छा, वो क्यों नहीं?
क्योंकि हमारा बेबी भी बहुत छोटा है.
Okay, so
और दूसरी बात ये कि मेरी नेशनलिटी पाकिस्तानी है और वाइफ की रोमेनियन. तो बेबी का पासपोर्ट हमें बनवाना है, तो वो ना पाकिस्तानी एम्बेसी बना के दे रही है ना रोमेनियन. तो हमें पासपोर्ट कैसे बनाना है?
ठीक है.
थैंक यू.
ओके, शुक्रिया मुश्ताक साहब. कीप वाचिंग प्रोग्राम, आपको जवाब मिलेगा प्रोग्राम में. व्यूज़ से ये कहेंगे टू द पॉइंट क्वेश्चन रखें, शॉर्ट टू द पॉइंट, सो हम आपको ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इस पे आपको एडवाइस दे सकें. मैनी कॉल्स एज वेल. Yeah, Shaisa, we were discussing this the landlord-tenant issue. Now, आपने mention करा था, obviously it has to be in deposit, it has to be in a deposit scheme.
That's right.
Now, in terms of जब ये किराए जो होता है ना, when people when tenants leaving, then at that point he's entitled to take his deposit back, which is very important.
Yeah, that is
but what about where there's been disrepair and there's been damage to the property?
Yeah, clearly, I mean, deposit is there for a reason. It is to stop the tenant from willfully damaging your property. In all the tenancy agreements, it is stated that normal wear and tear is accepted, you know. So you can't actually use the deposit against normal wear and tear. But obviously, if there's been malicious or aggravated damage caused to your property, then obviously deposit is there that you can use it to put right some of the work or some of the damage which has been caused by the tenant. You know, I mean, that's the whole idea. But the thing is, how do you go about claiming for those damages? So in the past,
हम आपसे अभी कंटिन्यू रखते हैं, कॉल आगे से शामिल करते हैं, फिर इसे जारी रखते हैं. Hello. As in the calls dropped. ठीक है. Take a share, as you saying in the past.
So as I was stating, in the past, the landlord would just pocket the deposit regardless of whether there was in fact any actual damage or not. They would just treat it as money legitimately belonging to themselves, you know, and they just make
up. ये तो नहीं कर सकते ना, अब तो
well, I mean, obviously that was the reason why the deposit scheme was brought in place. So the rules are that if you have got some kind of damage to the property, you need to take a written inventory, some photographs to say what was the state of repair of your property prior to the tenant moving in, and now that he or she is vacating the property, what damage has been caused. So you have to provide supporting documentary evidence, and only then you would be able to claim some of the money from the deposit.
ठीक है, थोड़ा सा अभी अगर इसे माशाल्लाह से आपने इंग्लिश में तो बताया, इसे उर्दू में भी बताएं slightly, so that हमारे व्यूज़ों को पता चले. That obviously they do understand English, which is very important. But एक अच्छा होगा तो थोड़ा सा उन्हें समझ आ जाएगी. तो inventory के आपने mention करा था, आपने ये mention करा था, तो जब documentary evidence की ज़रूरत होती है, at the time जब वो अपना लेते हैं अपना flat या tenancy जब start होती है, is that time is the most important time.
That is the
आपका कहने का मकसद है ना?
बिल्कुल यही मेरा मकसद कहने का है कि जब अगर आपने डिपॉजिट में से पैसे क्लेम करने हैं तो वो आपको उसी सूरत में मिलेंगे जब आपके पास कोई रिटर्न प्रूफ होगा कि मैंने जब प्रॉपर्टी दी थी उसकी कंडीशन ऐसी थी, ये हमने और जो टेनेंट ने उसको एक्नॉलेज किया, उसको एक्सेप्ट किया और उसने उस रिटर्न इन्वेंट्री के ऊपर साइन किए कि हाँ मैं एक्सेप्ट करता हूँ कि वाकई मुझे हाउस या घर फ्लैट जो है गुड कंडीशन में दिया गया है. और अब जब आप वो टेनेंट मूव आउट हो गया है, उसके 10 दिन के बाद आपको जो है डिपॉजिट वापस करना होता है. ऑब्वियसली जो डिपॉजिट है वो ऑटोमेटिकली डिपॉजिट स्कीम से टेनेंट को ट्रांसफ़र हो जाता है, आपके फिज़िकली हाथ में कोई पैसा नहीं आता. लेकिन अगर आप कुछ नहीं एक्शन नहीं लेते, कोई स्टेप नहीं लेते, तो इसका मतलब है जो डिपॉजिट स्कीम समझती है कि आपको घर आपको उसी कंडीशन में मिल गया जिसमें आपने दिया, इसलिए आपने कोई ऑब्जेक्शन रेज़ नहीं किया और वो पैसे सारे के सारे डिपॉजिट के टेनेंट को चले जाते हैं.
मगर आपने मेंशन ये कर रहा था ना, जब प्रॉपर्टी जब लेते हैं बंदे, sometimes they have a standard tenancy agreement, short hold tenancy जिसे कहते हैं,
short tenancy
short, yeah, 6 months की जो
6 months.
Now in that sometimes उसमें लिखा होता है आपकी inventory, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, inventory is not actually part and parcel of a standard short tenancy. It's an additional document which you can obviously create it yourself, or you can just buy it from a reputable stationery shop. So it's not actually a part of it, yet it needs to be there if you are to make a claim for any damage to your property. Because otherwise it is your word against the tenant. Tenant might turn around and say, मुझे तो property मिली इसी condition में थी. Why are you claiming damages? You know, the carpets were already torn or ripped. They already had stain marks on them.
The situation ऐसी आती है, Shahid Saab, it's not just about the damage to the property. Obviously, they should be pointing that out in the initial stage. We're talking about जब landlord की जब short hold tenancy उसकी हुई and tenants जो उसमें किराएदार हुए, कभी-कभी इस तरह से भी cases आ चुके हमारे पास. This is the reason we're talking it. they've taken the microwaves gone missing, उसमें से बेशुमार चीज़ें हूवर ले गए, कुछ जगह the sofas ले गए. I mean, in that situation, that is a theft within a property.
Yeah, I mean that's a straightforward theft. But what I'm saying is that if you did provide a microwave or a vacuum cleaner, you got to physically have it evidenced in a inventory. आपको इन्वेंट्री में लिखना चाहिए कि जी मैंने एक माइक्रोवेव दिया, गुड वर्किंग कंडीशन में है, it's not broken, it's not damaged, and the tenant then has to sign against it, you know, for it. And when that microwave goes missing, then you've got that inventory as a backup.
And is that what you do? The furnished property जिसे कहते हैं?
Yeah.
The furnished property we're talking
Fully
about.
furnished property.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
ठीक है, okay. We'll carry on talking now. अगर नाज़रीन से ये कहना अगर आपके पास कोई issue related to landlord-tenant issue या possession का do give us a call. शायद ये भी हम mention करना चाहिए. Now, in erasure budget, the landlord point of view, we just got there's section 8, which is done by the mechanisms through the court system. Now just rent को लेने के. Now इसको थोड़ा सा explain करें what periods and what the time scales are for this.
Well, once you have signed a tenancy up, tenant has moved in, obviously they would have paid you first month's rent in advance and a deposit which you would have been required to put into a deposit scheme within the first 30 days. Once that's happened and the following month the rent is due and the tenant doesn't pay you, then what are the legal options available or open to you? So first of all, you'll have to write a letter demanding the rent to be paid on time, and that is quite important because when you're starting any legal proceedings, the judge might want to know what steps you've taken to actually recover your rent. Did you call the tenant? How many times did you call the tenant up to demand your rent? Did you put it in writing? So all these things needs to be presented in your.
शायद आप कॉल कर लेते हैं फिर आपकी कंटिन्यू रखते हैं. Hello. 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 I think call drop हो गई. Yeah. Call dropped again. No worries. So ये जो बात आप जो कह रहे थे.
As I was explaining, so I mean, if you look at as a hypothetical scenario, tenant moved in, paid you the first month's rent, and the very next month when the rent is due, nothing comes through into your account, or he or she refuses to pay. Now you are faced with a dilemma.
Yeah, but उसका ये होता है ना, you have to be in 8 weeks in arrears.
No, but the thing is, to get to 8 weeks, you have to actually start pursuing the tenant from now, because when you do go to that 8-week limit to actually issue a section 8, you would have to then physically show to the judge when you go in front of him what other steps were taken prior to that. You know, did you send a written letter asking for the rent to be paid? Did you hear any response from the tenant? So these all things.
शायद कॉल आ रही है, इसे शामिल करते हैं फिर आप आते हैं आपके पास. Hello. Hello. Again, आपकी कॉल आगे लाइव आ रही है और you're on the program. लगता है कॉल ड्रॉप हो चुकी है and we're having some problems on the lines at the moment. Keep trying. आप कॉल करें. The lines are still working. No problem. Shahid, one of the problems that you have to have some proof of जैसे आपने कहते like letters and all that. We also have a rent book or some kind of accounts to show that rent's been paid.
I mean, if the rent was supposed to be paid directly into your account, then you just provide your bank statement showing that no money has come through the tenant into your account. So that's a documentary evidence. Otherwise, a rent book, you know, if you sign.
So Section 8 will be for the 2 weeks in rent and arrears. You've gone 2 or more weeks, Section 8 will be served by the landlord.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. ठीक है, अभी आते कॉल.
Sorry, not 2 weeks, 8 weeks.
8 weeks. Sorry, 8 weeks. कॉल आगे से शामिल करते हैं. Hello. Jay, welcome to the program. कौन कहाँ से?
Yeah, I would like to ask some question about landlord tenancy issues.
Yeah, okay. Can I have your name, please?
My name is Muhammad. I'm calling from London.
Okay, Mr. Muhammad, welcome to the program.
Yeah, one issue is that my landlord was not putting money in the deposit, and he delayed it for at least 8 months.
Okay.
So can I claim some compensation about it?
So how long Mr. Muhammad?
He put in the deposit protection after following with him for at least 8 months.
Okay.
And another question is that I had this agreement signed. It was a joint tenancy, and the other person who was living with me in this house is left. Do I have to inform the landlord And will that make my tenancy null and void if I inform the landlord?
Okay. I've got your question. Thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep watching your program. We'll answer your questions, and you'll know what the situation you should be doing. And so these have got to be Section 8 will be on 8 weeks.
After 8 weeks.
In arrears.
Yeah, that's when you serve it, giving the tenant 2 weeks either to pay the outstanding rent or vacate the property.
What about we wanted the possession? Now, Section 21. Again, Torres says explain the two different processes, and we know that people are listening, and we want to give them a very informed information about the legal position they should be taking. Yeah. So Section 21, then I'll come back.
So Section 21 is there that if you have rented your property and you just require a possession of it back, regardless of whatever the reason. It's not that the tenant must be into rent arrears or the tenant is being a nuisance to the neighbors. You don't need to have any legal grounds to get possession of your properties. The only requirement is that the tenant must be given 2 months clear notice that you want possession of your property, and it's quite important when that notice is given, because if you give that 2 months notice while the short hold tenancy is still in place, then you need to wait until the end of the 6 months before you can go to the court and ask for possession. If you have allowed the tenancy to run through and it becomes a rolling contract and no notice was served, so at that time you would have to serve a written 2 months notice, and only after the end of that 2 months you would be able to take legal proceedings to evict the tenant.
Under Section 21?
Under the Section 21, yeah.
Again, these are the legal processes that need to be taken. Viewers here, agar aapke paas koi is kind of situation, or if you're the landlord and you want to have this kind of situation where your tenant has defaulted and you have a problem or you for various reasons, then we'll be more than happy to listen to you and advise you and help you in your matter. If you're a tenant and you've got issues, then we can also advise your rights and tell you what we can do. So if you've got them issues, you know what to do. You can call us on the Hidayat TV and you can take our telephone numbers from the control rooms and we'll be more than happy to help you. एक और हमारे discussion में ये भी थे, and the third party deposit, or is like parents give newly people
that's right,
want to go into a property, they want to have their own first time foot on the ladder, as it were, but independence actually, as opposed to buying a house. In that scenario, again, the deposit has to be banked.
Absolutely. I mean, the law is that whenever a landlord or letting agent takes some money and says that this money is to be treated for deposit purposes, then it becomes their legal obligation to actually transfer that money across to a deposit scheme. You cannot say, oh, just because the money came from a third party, i.e. parents or another relative, that should be treated any differently. Deposit is deposit at the end of the day. So once somebody hands over that money and it is given to you on trust as a deposit to be used against any damage to the property in the future, then you got to protect it up until that time when the tenant is vacating the property, and you can come to a joint understanding in terms of whether there was any damage done to the property or the property was handed back in the reasonable state of repair, which would be expected at the end of the term of the tenancy. So the position is quite clear. Deposit, whether it is personally handed over to the landlord or through another letting another relative, it still needs to be.
I think with deposit के बारे में we've discussed quite detail. What about most tenants, when they come and stay, they don't pay the bills and they do चले जाते without doing
without paying their dues.
Sometimes they do a disappearing act.
Yeah, that's right. So what you need to do is then obviously you need to inform the relevant authorities, the utility companies, that the tenant has vacated the property, and you just give them the up-to-date meter readings, and then it is down to the utility companies to actually pursue and chase the tenant for any outstanding debt or bills.
ठीक है जैन साहब obviously अभी थोड़ी सी few minutes में हमारे break की तरफ जाएंगे and we're going to talk about the immigration and some of the rules relating to spouse visas and on the income levels, get threshold, and we're going to discuss that a little bit in detail. Domestic violence, entrepreneurial, business visas. थोड़ा सा इस पे discuss करेंगे.
Sure.
And this is going to be after the break. But just touching on, अभी थोड़ा सा break से पहले let's just discuss one or two issues. अभी जो recently जो Migration Watch की report आ रही है, they're talking about a lot of influx coming from European. Now the government has done very well जहाँ उन्होंने control कर लिया है जहाँ पे migration coming to here
non-EU
from non-EU has been they're controlling that more or less.
Well, I mean they are attempting, and obviously they've been successful to some degree in trying to bring down the non-EU migration, and it's purely down to
some levels उन्होंने कर चुके हैं.
Yeah, because they've actually stopped issuing the visas in a lot of the categories you can't get. So a prospective student, which was a legitimate category, doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
Or you know, there are a few other categories which just been closed down by a UKBA or Home Office. So if the category doesn't exist, how could somebody then apply?
वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ categories है नहीं. That's why the figures have come down and it's looking good for the government.
Yeah.
But one of the other problems they've faced with European migration is very much a very high influx coming in, and they're expecting like about 100,000 or thereabouts approximately.
Yeah, I mean, like you correctly suggested, that the government own forecasts are that over the next 5 years there's going to be a projected population increase of 500,000, which is equivalent to the population of Manchester. So these are the kind of figures, and unfortunately the government does not have any kind of control on restricting or limiting the increase in the population.
Okay. So basically, Migration Watch has actually said there's going to be an increase of 100,000 per annum, roughly about to the levels in 4 years to the Manchester population. By साल में Manchester की population बन जाएगी. It'll be another city for Europe.
Another city created.
Let's be correct on this one. This is the migration from European countries.
European countries.
From Spain, Italy, Portugal, and Bulgaria, Romania.
EU. Yes.
So it's not from outside, it's from within the EU.
Within the
so there's a major problem the government's faced with at the moment. So you can understand some of the dilemmas. This is one of the issues. But that doesn't mean that people should be penalised if they want to come in and live here and work.
Sure, yeah.
तो ठीक है अभी हम डिस्कस करेंगे after the break on some of the immigration matters regarding जो immigration के जो cases होंगे. We'll discuss the 18,600 क्या requirements होती हैं, ये चीज़ों का मैं भी discuss करेंगे break के बाद. अगर आपके पास कोई issues हैं regarding immigration or you have any issues regarding litigation or representation, then feel free to contact on Hidayat TV, and we're giving you legal matters. We'll be more than happy to carry on giving you best advice. So keep watching. We'll be back after the break.